I should start by saying that this is a true story. As much as I wish this was fake, it's ultimately up to you whether to believe it or not. Whatever helps you sleep at night, I guess. As a child, I always had an innate fear of being alone, especially in the dark or at night. My imagination was overcome with stories of strange creatures that come alive at night, along with the safe feeling of conformity when inside a house with the lights. I never had anything to base this fear off of until spring break of this year. And it was because of this, I will always be afraid to drive alone at night, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, a little backstory. My birthday was over spring break, and to celebrate, I invited my friends over for poker night. Since my friends went to different colleges, it was really nice catching up with them. The night ended a little past midnight, and my friend, Corey, needed a ride home. Being the overly friendly person I am, I offered to take him home, even though he lives 30 minutes away, in a really rural town. My friends and I would constantly joke about him living in the middle of nowhere, which technically wasn't a false statement. Anyway, we get in the car and leave for his house. Nothing worth mentioning happened on the ride to Corey's house, but the ride from his house is where things get interesting. On my way back home, I make a wrong turn at the wrong intersection. Keep in mind it was around 1 a.m., and it wasn't exactly light out. If it wasn't for the streak reflectors or the stoplight, it would be pitch black. No big deal, I thought. I'll just make the next 2 lefts and I'll be back on track. Everything was fine until I came across a stoplight at the upcoming T intersection. Just as I pulled to the stoplight, go figure, it just turned red. I felt tempted to run the light, seeing that it was past 1 a.m. and I was tired, but earlier that week I heard the saying, "Character is what you do when no one was watching." And for whatever reason, that night I decided to prove to myself the type of character I am. Big mistake. I came to a stop, feeling good about myself, bordering self-righteous, when I happened to look out of my window and see a woman sitting by herself on an old bench. Initially, I thought she was old, but upon further inspection, she couldn't have been more than 30. We made brief eye contact, and then I quickly looked away. But it was too late. Out of my peripheral vision, I could see the movement, and I knew she was coming my way. I look out of the window and notice she had a brown purse that probably had seen better days, and I quickly check my windows are all the way up, and my doors were locked to give me some sense of security. I grew more and more uneasy as she got closer to my car. I had no idea what to do and prayed it would just be a short, awkward exchange. As she was getting closer to my car, she pointed her finger downward, gesturing me to scroll down my window. I felt a large knot in my stomach because I knew deep down it would be a terrible idea to scroll down the window. I built up enough courage to tap the button to scroll down my window, maybe a fraction of an inch. She walked right up to my car and started to gently knock on the window to get my attention. She then leans in and begins to talk. She says,
"My boyfriend beat me up. I have a friend who lives nearby. Can you give me a ride?"
I should give you a brief description of what she looked like. She wasn't small, but she wasn't fat either. Definitely on the taller side, but no way she was taller than 5'10". She looked somewhere in her mid to late 20s and appeared as though she lived on the streets through a really tough time. She had a really dark color sweatshirt that was covered in dirt, and I remember seeing some of a white undershirt underneath. Just by looking at her, there was no real way to verify her story. She just looked beat up by life, not just by a boyfriend. But there was something about her delivery that gave me the chills running on the back of my spine. It was robotic, and it seemed almost practiced, like she was disconnected for a moment, and that just made my skin crawl and my heart race. I was so distraught by the encounter, I couldn't string together a sentence. It wasn't until 30 seconds of me trying to talk that she leaned in closer and said the same thing again.
"My boyfriend beat me up. I have a friend who lives nearby. Can you give me a ride?"
This time, I felt pulled back down to earth and gave her a confident no. And I told her defiantly, "I can't, I'm sorry, it's too late and I have to get home." She leaned in a third time and began her same statement again in the same exact monotone voice.
"My boyfriend beat me up."
It was at this time that the light finally turned green, and I was mumbling an apology, and I was just about to lift my foot off the brake. She didn't move a muscle. She just looked at the light, then looked at me, and said 5 words that will haunt me for the rest of my life.
You made the right choice.
I sped away as fast as I could the moment I heard those words. What the hell did she mean, you made the right choice? What was gonna happen? What could have happened? Maybe some questions are best left unanswered. Needless to say, I didn't get much sleep that night, nor will I ever drive alone at night again.